It's Wednesday, March 6th. Pakistan on Tuesday claimed it had detained 44 people associated with various banned terror outfits, including the Jaish-e-Mohammed. The detained include JEM chief Masood Azhar's brother Abdul Rauf and brother-in-law Hamad Azhar. Pakistan Interior Minister Shahryar Afridi, who made the announcement in a press conference, said these actions will continue as per the decisions taken in the National Security Committee while reviewing the National Action Plan. The crackdown is being seen as a result of mounting pressure on Pakistan by terror financing watchdog Financial Action Task Force. This report in Pakistani daily Dawn states a recent warning to Pakistan by the Paris-based Financial Action Task Force to deliver on its commitments to curb terror financing and money laundering risks to the global financial system has virtually put the country's entire machinery into an aggressive mode to show tangible progress within 2 months. The FATF had specifically noted with concern and condemned the Pulwama attack, saying such incidents proved terrorism continued to threaten societies and citizens around the world, which could not occur without money and the means to move funds among terrorist supporters. The anti-terror finance watchdog had put Pakistan on the grey list in July last year. If blacklisted, Pakistan may be downgraded by multilateral lenders like the IMF, World Bank, the ADB and EU. North Korea and Iran are in the FATF blacklist. Incidentally, Pakistan's Interior Minister Shahryar Afridi, who had to announce his government's crackdown on the proscribed groups, was heard asserting in a video that went viral in December last year that as long as the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf was in power, nobody would, harm these groups.
इंशाअल्लाह कोई माई कलाल जब तक हम असेंबली में और तहरीक इंसाफ है हाफिज सईद साहब को तो छोड़े जो पाकिस्तान के लिए हक और कलमा हक का साथ देगा हम उसका साथ देंगे.
Meanwhile, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf run Punjab government announced that it had removed Fayaz Chauhan from the post of Punjab Information Minister following derogatory remarks made about the Hindu community. The party tweeted, bashing someone's faith should not be a part of any narrative.
So I say India is a very high tariff nation. They charge us a lot. When we send a motorcycle to India, it's 100% tariff. They charge 100%. When India sends a motorcycle to us, we brilliantly charge them nothing. So I want a reciprocal tax, or at least I want to charge a tax.
US President Donald Trump has announced he will end India's preferential trade treatment under GSP, Generalized System of Preference, a program that presently allows $5.6 billion worth of Indian exports enter the US duty-free. What's the provocation? Well, the US says the Indian government has not allowed them equitable and reasonable access to Indian markets in numerous sectors, and that India has implemented a wide array of trade barriers that create serious negative effects on United States commerce. So is that true? We'll get to that in a moment. First, let's look at what is this Generalized System of Preference program. It is aimed at aiding the economic development of developing economies. Certain goods from the beneficiary country can enter the US duty-free if the beneficiary country meets the eligibility criteria laid down by the US Congress. Generalized System of Preference also, as per the US Trade Representative, boosts American competitiveness by reducing costs of imported inputs used by US companies to manufacture goods in the United States. In fact, India has argued that the cheaper imports of intermediary products from India enable availability of cost-effective and price-competitive inputs to the US downstream industries and helps the US firms remain domestically and internationally competitive. Now, Trump has labeled India Tariff King.
India, which is the tariff king.
Is that true? Trump has referred to the 100% tariff on Harley-Davidson motorcycles or the high import tariff on US whiskey to underscore his point.
India, as an example, has a 150%, hard to believe, tariff on whiskey. They make whiskey and they sell it to us. We charge them 0. We sell it to them. They charge us 150
But, as this Hindu business line piece asserts, the highest tariff in Japan, South Korea, and even the US is far higher than in India. World Tariff Profiles 2018, published by the World Trade Organization, lists the data on the highest tariffs charged by countries. Sample the highest tariffs of a few countries: Japan 376%, Korea 807%, the US 350%, Australia 163%, India 150%. The US charges very high tariffs on several items: 350% on tobacco, 163.4% on peanuts, 24 to 48% on footwear, 25% on textiles, 32% on sweaters, 28% on trousers, 25% on trucks. Most countries have a reason for charging high tariffs on a few items. Japan may like to protect its rice farmers, the US its tobacco farmers, India its growing wine industry, the report points out. Yet, high tariff items do not represent the tariffs at which actual trade happens for most items. Average tariff and trade-weighted tariff better represent a country's tariff profile. Now, the tariff on Harley-Davidson aside, what exactly has the US been asking of India?
We brilliantly charge them nothing.
The US had asked India to cut tariff on what are called ICT products, information and communication technology products, like mobile phones priced over 10,000 rupees, parts of phones, smartwatches, equipment for telecom networks, etc. The US was looking to leverage India being part of its GSP to ask that New Delhi cut duties. But as a WTO signatory, if India were to cut tariff on any product, it can't specifically be to benefit one country. The tariff reduction for the product will have to be across board. And a bulk of India's ICT imports are from China, Korea, and Japan. So India would end up losing a lot of revenue. The US also wanted India to roll back the price curbs on medical equipment like stents. India, remember, is a big medical device market for US companies. India, while capping the price of medical devices like stents and knee implants, has said that big trade margins on medical devices is illegal profiteering. And the price control mechanism is in line with New Delhi's commitment to affordable healthcare. The other issue Trump has pointed to is that India has a trade surplus of around $22 billion.
It is important that barriers be removed to the export of U.S. goods into your markets and that we reduce our trade deficit with your country.
What is trade surplus? When the total value of exports is greater than the total value of imports, which means India sells to the US more than it buys from the US. Conversely, if imports exceed the value of exports, there is trade deficit. The United States ran a goods and services trade deficit of $27.3 billion with India in 2017. But the fact is that the trade deficit has been narrowing as US exports to India increases. Additionally, the government has started buying oil from the US, which would narrow the trade deficit, and India plans to further increase its purchase of oil and gas from the United States. America and China seem to be in a diplomatic quagmire over the arrest of the Huawei CFO. Here's what's going on. The deadlock started on the 1st of December 2018 when Canadian authorities arrested Huawei Chief Financial Officer and the founder's daughter, Meng Wanzhou, on behalf of the United States. The US has alleged that Meng and Huawei are involved in fraud, stealing from American companies and attempting to circumvent sanctions on Iran. The world's largest telecommunications equipment maker and the number 2 manufacturer of smartphones, Huawei is key to China's tech leader aspirations. Naturally, this US-engineered arrest was not received well by China, who retaliated by arresting 2 Canadian citizens, Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor. A former diplomat and NGO advisor, Kovrig has been accused of spying and stealing government intel since 2017, while Spavor, founder of a company that conducts trips to North Korea, has been accused of being Kovrig's contact in China. Also in January, China escalated the custodial sentence for drug smuggling to another Canadian, Robert Lloyd Schellenberg, into a death sentence. Meanwhile, Mong Wongju, who remains in Vancouver with an ankle tracking device under house arrest, will appear before a Canadian court for her extradition hearing today. Mong, for her part, sued the Canadian government last Friday for violating her constitutional rights by detaining her on behalf of a third country. Meanwhile, Washington's move to discourage other countries from using Huawei gear, particularly that related to its 5G project, has been interpreted by some as a deliberate crippling of Chinese tech capabilities. US has said it has sufficient reason to believe that Huawei parts enable the Chinese government to spy on other countries. In response, Australia, New Zealand and Japan have already put restrictions on Huawei in their countries, while European countries including Germany and Britain are considering doing so. And finally, it seems to be the season for the ridiculous. We mean this very handy French micro handbag. So small that it can hold maybe just 3 or 4 Tic Tacs. French brand Jacquemin La Mini Chiquito, I hope I said that right, has been called the biggest thing at Paris Fashion Week. At 5.2 centimeters, this bag is the smaller version of the already small 12 centimeter La Chiquito, which was launched at $500 last year. A price for this massive style statement is yet to be decided. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow. Love your morning fix? Help support our journalism. Subscribe to Scroll Plus using the link in the description.